recording to classes. I am at home today. I had to wait for the plumber to come in. And for those of you not in the Midwest, we just got about 18 inches of snow on Monday. So we've been snowed in for 3 days. I actually made it into the office for a little while today, then had to wait for a plumber. So I'm back at home. This is my home setup for those of you who've never experienced my home setup. I got my LPs over here. I got some Poison on there today. So for you old school folk,
Poison on LP. Oh my gosh.
You gotta. This is a great album. I think I had the CD at one point, but a friend of mine had two, and there I am.
Look where the cat dragged in. Yeah.
So this is open up and say ah. But yeah, I mean, I like listening to the LPs. You're getting about 15 minutes per side ish. And so when I flip it over, I know it gets me up out of my seat. I don't get like stuck. If I want to listen to music, I got to get up, or I'll put on like a repeat of 3 and listen to the same side and then flip it over. I mean, for those of you who've never done records before, there is a bit of an artistry to it. There is a bit of a love there. So I tend to like listening to Rush 2112. I listen to
how many LPs does it take for that album?
It's 2 sides, but the one side is like one song.
So this is all really good, Adam, because it's making me feel young. Because I mean, I am an '80s kid. I mean, it was cassettes. I
grew up on records
all the way, and so when I see anybody with records, I'm thinking, gee, you're old.
Yeah, I'm one of those weirdos. I grew up on LPs, so it's nostalgia for me. Like my dad had a great record collection growing up. 8-track. We had one 8-track player out in the garage, and I largely grew up with the Sony Walkman. That was my thing.
Yeah.
Giovanni is familiar with the album. Yep. We have assumed control. So, that ending is like, it's either optimistic or depressing. Who assumed control at the end of the album? And so, it's supposed to be an optimistic ending, but I think I always took it as it was doom and gloom. But maybe depends on what mindset you're in that day. So anyways, with technology, it's interesting, like the old technologies that we hold on to. And for me, there's something about picking up a record and throwing it on a player. And evidently it's a new thing now. Like you got a lot of these younger generation, they like to collect LPs and record players. So I have a Technics 2600 over here. And evidently the sucker's worth like $1,000 now. Because it's an old school record player and people will pay good money for originals. And I'm sitting over here and I got it fixed up because it was a hand-me-down from my father-in-law when he passed. And I went and got the wax repacks, got the wheels or the feet redone. And the guy who did it for me did it with loving care. It was just a hobby of his. He charged $70 for it, and it plays wonderfully now. The only thing I'm missing is, and a lot of you older generation people, I'm looking at you, Skip, you might remember when you used to have a platter on top and it would serve up. You could do like a stack of records.
Oh, yeah. I saw those.
I need to find me one.
No. Yeah.
I need to find me one.
No, so, my biggest feature was the button that came around that would, flip the heads on the cassette, so it'd do the other side. Because the longest time I had you to push the button and flip the tape over.
Yep.
So to get the side B, because I had a cheap one.
Dropping at different speeds. That's why you don't put the different sizes on there. Oh. Darn kids.
All right.
No. All right. So today, what we're doing is this is the second week of the new series of HIT. And what we're doing is we're going through actionable items for each week. So for those of you with teams like Bob, this would be what do you need to delegate this week and over the next quarter, so that you can kind of set milestones. Like, hey, team, by the end of this quarter, we should have all of our architecture audits done. And for some of you in smaller shops, it's like, crap, that's a lot of audits to do. I don't know if I have time. But at least you're focusing on just one report. You're not focusing on all 4 reports in one quarter or in 1 week. You're saying, hey, our goal here is to get at least 90% of your clients by the end of the year fully audited. And then next year, it'll be even easier because you already have a baseline for everybody. So this year, long as you're establishing your first baseline, and we're setting up these goals every week and action items for you to get done. So this action item today is start scheduling out 3 a week. And Skip has been working really hard on version 2.0 of all of these audit reports. And today he's going to show us how the new architecture audit works. And I'm going to sit in the background and answer questions on chat while he showcases the amazingness of the infrastructure audit 2.0.
All right.
This will also be featured on the HIT platform when it goes live.
Yep. So, yeah, working versus getting anything done may be another discussion. But yeah, so I have been enjoying a dive into the reports. There will be new versions of those coming out. We're pretty much done with most of them. I'm trying to get back and do a little wordsmithing on a few. If you guys have anything that you're like, hey, I have to go in and change this report, or this was something I really want to see fixed, send that to me. I'm glad to incorporate any of those changes that we can in there. But let me jump out here and show you guys where we're at. Yes, that's a quick one there. All right. So
yeah, don't get them excited about the dark view.
Yeah, I know.
The light view mode.
Little teaser there. So one thing that I want to make sure everyone knows that is we can't push, or we won't push any reports into your inventory. Okay, that gives you the ability to control and manage that, so that you know what's there. So as we produce updates or new reports, those become available in the master inventory out there. But remember, you have to pull those down. And I think every once in a while, someone will go to the report template and they're like, I don't see the new one here. And that's right. You'll have to go to create new report template and hit the drop down here. And then what you see in this list is the master inventory that's available to your account. So you can pull those down. Now, I've already pulled one down. We'll run through it, but I will throw a little caveat out here. I am wanting to launch with this 2.0 deal, so I may make changes to the 2.0. So if you pull it down now, I may change it and it have the same name here in the next few days. However, there are not going to be any fundamental changes. All right, it's going to be essentially just small word tweaks. I think I've made all the fundamental changes we need to do. So,
well, essentially, yeah, like Skip will keep it in, it'll say beta next to it. So beta can be changed at any time. And then once we remove the beta, it'll be 2.0. And if we do like a grammar update or we do a minor edit, just like in a dev cycle, we'll do a minor release on it. So on top 2.1, 2.2, 2.22. And so minor updates will be that. Anything with like new questions, new structure, new features, that'll be a 3.0 release. So when you're running with a 2.0 release, you can guarantee, as long as you stay within the version number, that your scores are going to maintain cohesion. But you may have like a different image got put in there because we don't have the rights to an image, or because a typo was found, or we eliminated a section. But as long as you're in the same version, the assessment score will stay the same.
So Adam, if while I go through here, if you want to do me a favor and go and share that 2.0 beta with everyone, they can pull that down.
Yep, I just need to apply the permissions so that everybody gets betas. There's a bunch of you on beta lists already. Yeah. So did you apply those already, Skip?
No, I have not. I have not.
Okay. I'll just do it in the background here while you're fiddling around with things.
All right. So I have pulled a copy down. I'm running it here. A good old standby at Joe's Trucks. And want to throw in a real quick item here for everyone. I'm going to kind of jump to the end. But hey, they say start with the end in mind, right? So what we want to do is end up with this project's roadmap. I had a great conversation with someone just today about how to use this. And it's kind of funny because we spend a lot of time, you know, creating templates, modifying stuff, getting the reports running, you know, which widget to use here, how do we fill out the assessment? All of that's all great. It's all necessary. But if you ask me, my opinion is if you don't spend most of your meetings centered around this recommendations roadmap, you aren't getting the value for the tool. Right? I think everything by and large drives up to this because this is a roadmap of what are you going to do for your client. All right. You've already done what's out there today. All right. So now we need to know, even if it's service and support and ongoing stuff, it's all going to connect to this in one way or another. So there's my philosophical point for the day. All right. So I've got it here. And I want to remind everyone, you know, we got some flexibility. If I flip the switch here, we have just the one item. All right. I thought we didn't have any, but so we have just the one item here. This is from this report, and we can flip it back to this view to see all the projects that have been recommended for this client. Now, I also took some time and went and cleaned up this report. And if you jump out there, you know, and look in some of your clients, sometimes this list may get kind of long. Now, keep in mind that it's coming in from all your reports, and you may want to manage this a little more proactively. Items on this list need to be focused, okay? If you bring this up, and even with the all clients or all reports switch flagged, and you have 30 items on there, I'd say you're probably not managing your project roadmap very well. All right, this needs to be a shorter list so that you can talk to your client about this. We've got this great feature, you know, where we take these little grabber dots and reprioritize stuff on the list. You can change the names. You know, this was my example this morning. You know, the scenario was, you know, someone's Office 365 account got hacked. All right, and now it's, you know, it's a big deal. My example was real. You know, the Office 365 account got hacked. It was someone in their finance department, and they were sending out what looked like internal, or well, it was internal emails trying to get wire transfers initiated. Now, fortunately, their team, you know, went, hey, that's a little odd. And, you know, they got that stopped before any money went out the door. But, you know, our next conversation with them was, wow, this is, you know, really big. And so when you go to talk about that, you know, this project is about implementing multi-factor authentication, but MFA is boring, all right? But protecting Office 365 so that, you know, no fraudulent wire transfers go out, that's interesting to the client, all right? So renaming these projects really gets you where you want to go. So there's the deal. This is where we want to end up, all right? I started with what was really, really important. How we get here, we've got actually a couple of ways that we can do that, but I'm going to talk about one of them, but this is where we want to end up. These are the projects that we want to be focusing on with our clients, and that's how we want to, you know, really drive the business. So to jump into the assessment, I'll start at the top here. It is going to look very similar. We haven't changed any of the categories from the 1.0. We've changed we've made it completely vendor and product agnostic with the exception of Microsoft Office. And this is one of the updates that I am going to add to it. I think we're probably going to have a couple of sections in here so that you have the ability to flip this on and off if you want to go down an Office 365 route, or if you want to go down a Google Suite route. All right. And I know for the most part, we're all on the, you know, whether we like it or not, we're on the Microsoft bandwagon, but, you know, you're going to run into, you know, that one or two clients. Sometimes it's really, you know, makes sense. Sometimes the educational route, you know, and the Google Suite just makes a whole lot more sense. So I want to provide that flexibility in here so that we can be specific without locking you in. But for the rest of everything else, it is completely product, vendor, manufacturer agnostic. So that allows you to run with it right away. Also, while I'm thinking about it, let me jump up here and talk about our categories. Again, as you've heard me mention in the past, these are categorized from the client perspective. All right, so I get lots of questions sometimes about why some of the network communications or I'm sorry, why some of the data and storage stuff is in its category and not married up with the server infrastructure. And the reason being is, you know, there's 6 different ways we can do this or more. I took the approach of, hey, this is going to come from, this is, you know, focused on client conversation. Let's build this and operate this from the client conversation. But what I want to mention is some of the interesting ways we're figuring out how to use these reports. You know, I really like working with you guys about it. So a little plug here to hit me up and you know, schedule some time with me because we learn a lot together. You can customize these reports to focus on just specific areas. You know, I've got one now with the NIST base. There's a NIST overview. We'll get to it in time, but we've got a 2.0 on the NIST report. It's much shorter, but I even found a way to shorten it even more if we need to focus on one area. So, you know, you could jump in and just take the high level resources sometimes, you know, the end user, or if you just want to focus on just their server stuff, you know, whatever it is, communications, however you want to do it, you have the ability to dive into just these particular sections. All right. Lots of talking, but any questions so far? Anything I need to focus on? We'll keep rolling. Someone throw a brick at me.
I'm just chatting with people in the background here. So I got everybody added to the 2.0 versions, and then anything you had beta, I put in the beta group. So right now, is this the new report we're going over now, or?
Yes. Okay. This is that beta copy. Mine says 2.0.
I see you stuck with Office 365 rather than best of class.
And so that is, like I was saying earlier, I'm going to redo these statements here are on my last list. I'm going to pull this out. So we're going to have in this area, and that's actually a good deal. In this area, we're going to have a way for you to go down the Microsoft route or go down the Google route. All right. Because that's pretty much all that we're going to run into. Unless there is a few of you out there that may still have, they still have WordPerfect running. I know there's some of you out there that are still doing the GroupWise, have options for GroupWise. So anyway, we'll have to make a custom report just for you if you need something else.
Well, and that's the beauty of like being able to create your own reports. Our goal right now is to make this simple so that you can get shit done. If you want to customize and have exactly, if you're a micromanager who wants it exactly done the way you want it to, be free. Take the report, edit it in any way you want. Our goal is to make reports that you can use today to start generating revenue. So
there you go.
The beauty is that you are going to get things done. Is it perfect? No. Is it good enough to net you tens of thousands of dollars in revenue? Yes.
Yep.
Start somewhere. And that's the beauty of these reports. That's why the action item for this week is to start doing 3 clients a week just on this. And the way Skip has put it together is to have, he wants to make it so that a client you know really well should take you about 20 minutes. A client that is new is going to take considerably longer because you have to go on-prem, you're going to have to look at what they have, you're going to have to audit what they are doing. But once you have that baseline, the next time you do it, it's going to take 20 minutes to update it. Okay, what changed? What did we do last year? Because no one else changed anything. So that's the beauty of these reports, is that they're simple enough that you can get things done and get into operations rather than spending all your time on administration.
And Giovanni replied, and yeah, he still has
group wise
and group wise. Woohoo! So at least a couple of us showing our age out there.
I was a Lotus Notes guy. On my first job, they ran Lotus.
Oh yeah, oh man, that was it. So in the true 2.0 version, you will have the ability to go say in here and say, hey, I'm not a Microsoft house. I'm going to turn off the Microsoft options, and then you'll have the Google options, or vice versa if you want that. So that will change just a little bit. But from here on out, there were definitely I'm not anticipating any structural changes to the report. It'll all work out pretty good. We have adopted this, and I guess you could change me on it. I mean, we're not too far out of the gate here, but this is kind of our new stack ranking here, so to speak. So we've got an optimal solution, a serviceable solution, something that's really unsuitable, or something just absolutely deficient. All right. And so our mindset there, again, going through and, we want to push our clients to optimal solutions. Every once in a while, though, we're going to encounter something that we think is just serviceable, and we're going to stick with it for a little while. I think I had one in here on, I was thinking one, I know I filled this out. For clients that really well, I would say Adam's 20 minutes, maybe a little long. Joe's Truck's been my kind of my go-to example for a couple of years now. And so in my head, it's kind of weird. There's a lot goes on in my head. And I've built out this whole company, right? So every time I talk about it, it's kind of the same. So when I went through and did this report, I literally did it in 5 minutes. I mean, I was like, yes, they did this. No, the data center here, just whap right through it. So I think, you can definitely get quick at these.
Yes. I think I did one when I was doing a test. I was able to go in and I think I modified it, changed sections around, and did an audit of a client that I'm familiar with. And I had it done in like 15 minutes, but I'm really fast. So
it is, I think we are smoothing things out a little bit. And again, we're definitely open to feedback. If you run into something like, hey, this takes forever, this is confusing, we have to stop and explain or answer a lot of questions on this area, let me know. And I'll jump in there and see if we can smooth that out some, so it's a much better engagement with your clients. So like this case here with the storage array, we're going to say that, hey, they've got another tier 1 manufacturer that's current state, but future state, we want to get them out. There is a scenario that I can envision where you would go, hey, they have this other manufacturer and they just bought this thing last year, right? It's still got, 2+ years of warranty on it, and it just doesn't make sense to try to get them to swap that out, even though it's EMC, and I hate EMC with a real, true passion. Okay, that's real life there. All right, and I'd like to put them out to pure storage. That's cool stuff, right? But hey, the realistic, side of me says I'm not going to be able to get them off that EMC thing. So I would select current state here, and that's okay. I mean, we got to really be able to understand what's okay and what's not. So I don't want to go into too much detail. I know everyone on the call here, we've got quite a few people, but I'm pretty sure looking through the list that everyone's kind of familiar on how to fill this out. So I don't want to cover too much ground, but I know there's a lot of people that look at these recordings. If you want some more information on this, reach out. I'll dive into this. If you got any questions, but we've have some options coming up too around some of these fields and the naming of the fields. And Adam and I had this whole long existential debate the other day about current state or future state.
I think there were multiple debates on this.
Yes.
This is a conversation that will never die in the community. Just so everyone knows.
That is it. And my argument was current state, future state. You know, when I first started using the platform, that verbiage, you know, that terminology was a little odd, I thought. And now you fast forward here, I don't know, 3+ years that I've been using this tool. And, you know, I can talk for hours about why current state and future state's the way to do, man. And so I'm wondering if I've just convinced myself on this or if I've come around to this methodology. But at the end of the day, I've decided I really do like the current state, future state sort of naming, because it all boils down to what they have today. Is it what you want them to run with long term, or do you want them to adapt to something else? And just that simple question creates the gaps. And you guys have heard me say it over and over and over again. The value here where you're going to see success is managing the gaps. I was on a call with an MSP just a few days ago, and they were going over all that they had, the inventory reports, the firewall logs, the dark web analysis. I mean, it was all great data, but it was all focused on what was currently there, what's currently active, what's currently running, and there's no foresight. It's all reactive. And so, you know, identifying the gap is the gap to what? It's to where you want to go. And if you're running these reports and you don't have gaps, because I've actually seen people fill this out and all they do is they use it as an assessment. Hey, yeah, they have this. If they don't have it, they don't check anything. All right. Well, if you don't check anything here, all right, it's a 0. There's no gap. All right. So if you don't generate any gaps, what are you using the tool for? Just to be honest, I mean, if you don't have gaps, there's no conversation to be had with your clients. So again, back to, as I try to wrap this up, we're getting here on time. To get this score, all right, to close a gap, you're going to need a project. Here's a project. This is going to close the gap. All right. And as you talk through that, your clients are going to see progress. You know, you can go through. So you have all these projects, you do this work, and then the scores change. All right. So here's my other deal. If you're doing work for your clients, but it's not on a project roadmap, all right, and that project is not as a result of assessment, then you run the potential of doing all this maybe awesome and great work. Your clients spend all this time with you, but because it wasn't connected to assessment, because it wasn't generated with a recommendation, you know, there wasn't a process there. It was just a to-do list that you went through. Your assessment scores aren't going to change. So you run the risk of your client spending $100,000 with you over a 12-month period on all these projects, and you sit down for an annual review and you look at the technology health score and it's the exact same numbers as it was the year before. All right. And at that point, I would, you know, I'm a client, I'm going to look at that and go, wow, we spent a lot of money. We didn't get anything done, I guess, huh? That would, you know, as a business owner, that would be my response. But if you're generating projects as a result of an assessment question, you've identified a gap, the gap generates the project gets work done, and then when you do the project, you can go and update the assessments, the gaps close. All right. And so that's where, you know, I really think you're going to get connections with your clients. Are we ever going to get everybody out to 100? No, because that's a great thing about technology, right? It's always changing. It's not something we're even going to have to orchestrate. It's not something we're going to force into. Just by the very nature of technology and its advancement, we're always going to have the bar moving ahead of our clients. Their business is going to change. Sometimes that will redo the scores and the benchmarks. You know, I've got my whole scenario here. You know, I've told you I've really built out Joe's Trucks in my head. And my scenario is, you know, at some point, Joe's Trucks merged with Bob's Freight, right? Well, when they did that, their assessment score jumped because now they didn't have just one data center. They had 2 data centers and they had all these remote employees at another location. So that moved the bar out a little bit. And those are great business conversations to have with clients of why the bar is moving. And so, it moves in response to the business, man, I mean, that's a stellar conversation.
did you handle Giovanni's question on what do you do when a client does not have an item?
All right, so those, you can jump down here and yeah, just take the section, like, you know, say they don't care about Microsoft Office, you know, they've got their own boxed copies of Word Perfect, I mean, you know, and they're good. Just pull that out of the list. All right. Just take it out, and now it will leave that little item there, but it's taken it out of the score completely. And of course, there's no projects or recommendations associated with that. So that is the flexibility here. I run into one pretty often. It's at the bottom of the list. Bear with me. I know a lot of folks, especially in the ever-changing world of remote work, they aren't just really concerned about, you know, a locked cabinet, HVAC controls, you know, all the stuff that we used to think was really important, or even in our small little data closets. You know, when it's all cloud-based and remote employees, this just doesn't matter. Take it out of the equation.
Yeah, and I want to also kind of point out, for those of you who are newer to the program, like let's say the last year or two, the original intent of these in MSPL was you would send them to the customer and fill them out. And so when you collapse these sections, they were invisible to the customer. Now, as HIT and Virtual C, we found that guess who almost always fills out a report? Yours truly, the engineer on the end. If you send a client something, they're not going to do it. And so what we're doing is we are designing these around an engineer taking care of them. So an engineer is going to come in and run this audit. And if they don't care about something, collapse it so it doesn't get calculated and so it doesn't become a part of the final report. And then the engineer is going to create this assessment so that they can look on it and say, click the plus sign next to the recommendation. A good tip for everyone is that tell your engineers to try to prioritize the projects. You know, hit the recommend button only by the things that they think that are like super important this year. So there's all the recommended things that are going to get taken care of, but what is the most important item? Like if they really need to have a storage array for some reason, then the engineer needs to hit that plus sign and recommend it.
Yep.
And then your job as an account manager or as a salesperson or as a VCIO is to walk into the customer and tell them why this is going to improve their business and move it from recommended to scheduled. And that's like saying, we're going to do this April 15th. Yep. Or I'm sorry, your job is to move it from recommended to approved. Once it's been approved, then it goes back to the service desk for them to schedule time to install the new array.
Yep.
So approved means that the customer has agreed to put this into their service plan, and it is now a project on your list.
So to kind of follow up on that a little bit, so as you can see here, we've got, you know, this is in our project roadmap, but we've got several things flagged as recommendations here, all the way up through this assessment. I've got items on here, but when I go to the technology roadmap and I look at just this report, I've only hit the plus on one of them. All right. Now but because that's what I want to focus on. And with regards to the infrastructure assessment, I think that, you know, in my scenario right here, it would be, we need to really focus on this mobile device management project. That's what needs to get done. There may be some other ones that I add in there, but, you know, right now we're doing this. By doing that, you leave things down here in the list so they don't get forgotten. All right. Because if you've gone through, especially if you do a walkthrough, all right, and you see something like, ooh, we need to replace that. All right. Then you click on future state. All right. But do you need to replace it right now? Maybe not. All right. But now that it's here, we know about it. All right. We can come back and pick those up. But this helps us in that scenario where someone walks through, they see something like, ooh, we need to replace that, but it wasn't really important and it just gets forgotten, you know, and 2 years later it dies, you know, and we're all like, ah, crap, why didn't we replace that back when we had the chance? You know, it just stops a lot of that. But also,
so did you go over this optimal versus deficient solution, this new idea you came up with?
I think so. We talked about it a little bit, and I would like any feedback on that. You know, like I said, we want to make this a conversation, and I want to drive the clients to optimal. That's my goal here. All right. So I'm trying to create wording that, you know, will resonate with the clients and like, hey, I want to be optimal. You know, this next solution, this next level is an area where I can see us having to support a lot of clients, but I want the customer to feel uneasy there. It's like, it's just serviceable. I mean, it's okay, you know, but this is not where I want you. And then obviously these other two down here are, you know, hey, this is not good, or this is, and my last one, the deficient being, hey, this is just really bad. You know, this is not, you know, what we need to.
So yeah, what I do want to tell people is like, when you do an optimal versus deficient, doesn't matter which one you're in, when you hit that recommendations over to the right, you can edit that card and say, hey, we know they don't need on-site storage. They're fine using OneDrive. So you type that into the delivery at the bottom. The optimal solution for this client is OneDrive. The optimal solution for this client is a on-site storage array. You can, as an engineer, can put the recommendation in there so that it's recorded for all time. When you hit that plus sign, it gets put on the roadmap, and now it is the account manager or the VC's job to figure out when in the next 3 years you're going to plan that out. So it gets put on the roadmap forevermore. You create a new report, that'll still be on there. Once you hit that plus sign, it is forever recommended to the client until the account manager or somebody deletes it off.
Yep.
We are having a couple people have some problems with finding the new reports. Can you show them quickly how to go to the solution set and add it manually?
Yes, I will. And let me do that at the very end, because then that way we can all walk through it. Because we're kind of wrapping up we're going long here. I want to make sure you guys know that we have refreshed, and I'm still refreshing the options here. But what I discovered was that when we share this out, the information there was a little light. All right. And so I kind of went through some exercises from a customer perspective, and we've redone some of these. I'm still tweaking on them. This is some of the wordsmithing that I want to do, but I wanted to show you the services one. I've tweaked it so that if you're sending this out to a client, they should be able to fill this out without any questions. Before, it made sense if you had seen the original report. If you were familiar with the original report, this share link was a no-brainer. But someone who's never seen the original report, this would be a bit of a struggle. So we're addressing that. Like I said, services is done. Infrastructure is about done. The NIST is done as it can be. I mean, it's convoluted by nature. So I don't know if we're going to be able to make much improvements off of it.
Except for the simplified NIST that someday we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, but again, you know, as much as I've whittled it down, who was it? I don't know if he's on the call, but he said, you know, those questions are just boring. All right, yeah, they are. But you know, if I change the questions, then it's skips security assessment, and it's not a NIST security assessment. So you know, we want to make sure we do that. So should be able to go to navigate over to setup, and then reports, and you'll be in.
They got to go to solution sets reports.
Really?
Yep. This problem goes away in the Humanize portal. So scroll down to your HIT solution set. Right there. Up.
Ah, there.
Click on that one. And you click on reports.
Well, no wonder everyone's having a problem. I've been telling them all.
I know. I hate this. And then you scroll down, and you'll see these are all the reports here. And so some of you we've already got all of them added to our portal, but over to the right, you'll see like, oh, there it is. Go to HIT assessment 1.1, just hover over it. Over to the right there is the download option.
Okay.
That'll put it in your portal.
Ah,
Nope. This is not you, Richard, or anybody else. This is one of my pet peeves that goes away when you migrate to the new HIT portal because there is no solution sets. So, well, right there. Okay, it's IT Services Assessment 2.0 right there, Bob. It's just already in our portal. I was just having him hover over so you can see that.
Where's the infrastructure one? The one I was just showing them. There should be infrastructure 2.0 beta.
Give me 1 second here. I'm pretty sure I added 1.0 beta.
No, be a 2.0 beta.
Oh, well, that's in the beta group, but I'll add it. I guess I'll add it to the HIT people. 1 second. Okay, maybe more in 1 second. It takes me a little bit to scroll. HIT. Infrastructure Assessment 2.0 beta. There we go. I had it in the beta group. Oh, no, I didn't. No one had it. I apologize, people. In my defense, it's a really thin line, and there are a lot of them.
There are a lot of them. Yes,
All right, now refresh it and look. It should be good.
It went from 9 to 10, so I think I got it in there. Yep, there it is. Infrastructure Assessment Beta.
Yep, and it won't be downloaded for you. It's Dentist.
So I already got it.
So there you go. And refresh and try again. My bad. That's on me, kids. Winner, chicken dinner. Yes. I have like it's like in this little, it looks like an Excel spreadsheet, and I've got to check these boxes, and I got like 16 columns, and so if I don't follow the line over just right and hit the check box.
Oh, it's actually gotten a little better. Adam cleaned it up, but that deal is. I have a 30-inch monitor.
Oh gosh.
And I would expand it all the way, and even scroll down the size a little bit so I could see it on one side and find the column on the other. It was.
The good news is this, for those of you looking to migrate over to the new portal when it's ready, this problem goes away.
There we go.
You will never have to look at a solution set again if you move over to the new portal. You will just get what we push out. It just hits your portal.
All right. So a little bit longer session today, but we do feel that this infrastructure report, whether you're using your own, an old one, or this new one, it doesn't really matter. You need to be pushing that out there with the goal of identifying the gaps. I know I've said that many times today, but that is the real value. That's the gap is the forward area. And if you're just focusing on what they have, and I guess I'm kind of all worked up because of, kind of a client example that we saw earlier this week where, they're just so wrapped up in all the existing reports, there's no gaps there. It's all just current state. This is where it's at. And I'm like, okay, that's great, but where are you going? And they don't have a plan for it. They don't have anything to push out. Hey, this is where we're going. And that's what this tool helps you do. It helps you create those plans, those roadmaps, so that you can move forward and be proactive and not just reactive. Oh, no, Adam started sneezing here, so we may need another 5 minutes to wrap up.
Yeah. I just want everybody to really focus in on this is meant to be simple. We know it's not perfect, but perfection is the enemy here, because we look at our clients, and for the love of God, if we could just get them to be 10 years ago current, we would be happy. And that's just the world we live in. We live in this boutique world where we are agile. We're supporting archaic technologies here and there. We're supporting 20-year-old PCs in some situations. This is just the world we live in. It's not perfect. The goal of these audit reports is to get your companies evaluated, so at least you have a baseline of knowing where are you. And then your clients are constantly reminded where they are. So we're just starting with action item of get your architecture audit done this week. Do 3 a week. You should be done by the end of the quarter. That is no problem. Next quarter, we will focus on services, servicing the infrastructure we have.
Yep.
Veterinarians, Definitely. But here's the fun thing. I was just on Skip this earlier. There is a prediction that the veterinarian market is going to explode over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Up to 7 years out because of, one, all the COVID animals that were purchased. And then also pets are becoming more popular. They're coming because of like these Twitter feeds, because of Instagram. People love pets. So people are buying pets like crazy the last couple of years. And so there's a problem in the veterinary market that we were having in the small business doctors' offices markets about 20 years ago. Remember when we saw the big explosion in doctors' offices right around 2005? That's going to happen with veterinary clinics over the next 5 years. So try to corner that market on vets if you can in your area, because you're about to see like 50 of them in your town. You want to be the puppy friendly MSP. I've heard that from a couple sources recently. So if it means that you have to put up with the 2003 server for a little while, do it. You want to be the guy who's friendly to them so that they will tell all these new veterinary clinics that come up, hey, by the way, I've been working with Mike for the past 20 years. You should work with him. And then you become the person who understands what they're trying to do. So pets are replacing kids with millennial couples. Nice. It's not the millennials anymore, it's the Gen Zers. The millennials are hitting mid-age now.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
I'm the end of Gen X people. I'm the butt end of Gen X. So anybody younger than 42 is a millennial. Yeah. Let that sink in for a bit, people. So anyways, the takeaway from today is get your architecture audits done. Don't worry about them being perfect. Just get them done. Schedule them out so that you're doing 3 a week. Put them in bite-sized chunks. That's how you eat an elephant. Bite-sized chunks. And then in second quarter, starting in April, we'll start working on services. But for the rest of this quarter, we're really going to be focusing on that architecture stuff as action items in the community and ways to get it done better. Now, we're going to put key items in here and different things you can do while you're auditing. But for your tickets in ConnectWise, create tickets that say do 3 a week. And by the end of this quarter, you should have almost everybody done, except for those of you with hundreds of clients out there. But for those of you who are a little smaller and maybe have 30 clients, you can get all of them done in 1 quarter this way. No problem. So that by the end of the year, by the time December rolls around this year, you will have all your clients audited, everyone audited across all 4 pillars, and you'll roll into 2022 with complete baselines on everybody. In the meantime, every time you do an audit on a customer, you will be identifying new opportunities to generate revenue. And as long as you do that, you're going to be continually generating revenue, even though you're only doing bite-sized chunks. And at the end of the year, you're going to walk into next year and you're going to be unveiling to all your customers these huge roadmaps that are easy to digest. It's like, hey, we already talked about all this stuff, but here's the thing we should prioritize this year. I know we talked about last year and you said you'd like to get done in 2022. Here we are.
Yep.
And now all your conversations become simple. And then next year, when you do your 3 audits a week, those audits only take 10 minutes because you're just updating the old ones. So you're creating a process that is maintainable. No matter what employee turnover you have, they're constantly going to be able to go in and look at this client, see their baseline, see where they need to get going, and have good conversations. If it's a new engineer, if it's a new account manager, if it's a new VCIO, if it's a new whatever, they can now have a baseline to work off of. It's going to save you a ton of time. It's going to generate a lot of revenue and help you have much simpler conversations. But today, we're just starting with little bite-sized chunks. Get 3 done a week. Have a beer. Be done for the rest of the week.
There you go.
3 more next week. And then we will check you next Thursday and give you some more action items that'll help you get these done better. We're all about making you successful and trying to give you tips and tricks and follow up on some of these things to make this process easier for you. Thank you everyone for joining in the chat. Skip, thanks for the overview and all the hard work on these reports. This is part of being an HIT member. You guys get to have these reports automatically updated every year. And any best tips and tricks we get from you guys throughout the year, we try to include them so that you and your staff can take advantage without having to spend hours and hours and hours. And I don't know how long Skip spent on these last 3, but that's money and time your staff didn't have to spend.
All right. Yeah. And, you know, they're never going to be perfect, but remember, you can deliver the perfect presentation. I will give you that. You can put it together and create the absolute perfect presentation. But to, you know, reinforce my Skipisms, it's not about presentations. It's about conversations.
Yes.
So
all
get
right.
it out there. Let's have that conversation.
We'll see you all next week. Thank you very much.
See ya.